Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. In this live stream, we are going to do a couple of things. We are going to spend a little bit of time talking about House of X, one of my favorite storylines right now that I'm digging into, and a theory that I have about House of X. I am not, this is not fully baked. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is not a fully baked idea, but I do want to spend a little time talking about it, planting some seeds out there, some cocoa seeds, if you will, that may germinate with you guys, and possibly we'll be able to connect some dots and make this thing all make some sense. So I want to do that. We're gonna show some cool books because I've had some books sitting here on my desk for like 2 weeks now that I haven't really gotten around to showing you guys that I want to show you. And then maybe we'll even talk about some Absolute Carnage or something like that, because I just finished reading that yesterday. So I want to welcome everybody to this live stream. I want to thank you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your respective day to actually join me here for this live stream. That is a wicked shadow. We have a wicked shadow back there in the back of the room. I don't know what's going on with these shadows, but whatever. So let me say hello to some comic book soldiers that have joined me. Joa is here. How you doing, my friend? Yong T, my good friend. It is good to see you. Perry Comics is in the house. How you doing, my friend? Clayton is in the house. It's good to see you. Stacy Fat Stacks is here. Randy is in the house. My man Michael is here. How you doing? Sidian is here. Mako is here. Super honorable nephew, my friend. It is always good to see you. He says, "What's up, Reggie? I'm here. Hope you're good." Man, the House of X is the truth. It is the truth, my friend. It is definitely dope. Sauron, where'd that come from? I did not see that curveball coming. You're gonna have to tell me where the Sauron came from, brother. Not that I'm opposed to Sauron. I didn't see how you connected those dots. So help me out with that one. Mr. Comic 89. This dude is on fire right here. This dude is putting up all kinds of really cool, amazing Spider-Man books on his feed. Any fan of Spidey is a friend of mine. It's all I'm saying to you. So it is good to see you, Mr. Comic 89. Vox is in the house. How you doing, brother? It's good to see you. From Heroes to Icons, my man that blessed me with, what was it? Mighty Thor 705, The Death of She-Thor. My man hooked me up with that from Heroes to Icons. He's also blessed me with some amazing artwork as part of my community project. Huge shout out to that dot guy. Definitely appreciate you. It's a party, y'all. Party Time Comics is here. Scrolling down through the names. Brother, do what you got to do. Catch me on the rewind. Dickie Taylor, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you. Harvey Abel, my friend. There you go. Do what you got to do, brother. Catch me later on the replay. Clayton is in the house. It's the Gibbon shirt casting the shadows, brother. The Gibbon casts a very large shadow. That's all I'm saying. 350%. We are up with Amazing Spider-Man number 110. I promise I am going to record a video to provide people with some insight into this phenomenon that is known as the Gibbon. And honestly, I don't even truly remember how it got started, but there's a lot of people, like Comic Tom commented yesterday. He was like, what's going on with this Gibbon? If you are not in it, you just don't know, and I'm in it, and I technically, never mind. Jablu, how you doing, my friend? What is he saying here? He said, I couldn't believe it when I read it. Made me think, what if we had all lived multiple lives and just don't know yet? How about that? Imagine that. There are some people. Well, there is one person that has made the comment that they don't like what's happening with Moira. And I respect it, right? I mean, I think everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I'm not saying that that person is wrong, because that's just not my thing, right? But I find it exciting. I find it exciting that this dude, Jonathan, is able to stay true to the history of characters, events, previous writers, but he fills in the space with some stuff that we don't even see coming. And I think that that is a talent. As a writer, not as a fiction writer, but as a writer in general, I think that that is fantastic. This dude has some talent. He has some talent, and that cannot be denied. Kingpin is like, what's up? Just read House of X, and It is dope. It is dope. Oh, Grant's over there getting swole. The comic book soldiers are in here. Miss Megan, how you doing? It is good to see you. Thank you for your message last night. I definitely appreciate you. Chris, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the live stream, man. It is definitely good to see you guys. And again, I appreciate anyone kind of taking their time out of here to hang out just a little bit. What is this? Anyone check the print run for House of X? And brother, I don't know. It's probably high is my guess. Caesar said he just got his ASM 110 from the LCS. That's what's up. That's what's up. Heroes from Icons. That curveball for Moira was insane. I'm telling you, bro, how many times have we read about Moira and we were always like, Moira, researcher, geneticist, no, you didn't really pay attention to her. She got interesting because she was hooking up with people, but she was never really, in my opinion, an interesting character. She was always a background character. And what I find really great about this, and we're not even at the topic that we're talking about here. But what I really find great about this is if you think about part of the reason why I love Spider-Man is because Spider-Man has this fantastic group of people around him that all add to his story, whether it be Spider-Man's story or Peter Parker's story. There is a massive cast of characters, villains, powered and non-powered, that surround Spider-Man, Peter Parker, that add to the environment in which he operates. And that's what makes it really fun. The X-Men have some of that, but most of the people I think around them are powered individuals, right? And I just think that it's really cool that, Jonathan Hickman is reaching into that cast of characters and layering on some texture to those characters that otherwise have been forgotten about. Because here's the thing. Let's say that they had rewritten, if you will, some history of a major like X-Men. People would be like, oh, that is the worst thing ever. It's sacrilegious, right? So he's doing something super creative by leveraging a character that has really no real development, and people are upset about that too. And it's like, come on, you in order for these characters to have life into future, we have to do something different with them. Otherwise, it's like eating leftovers decade after decade after decade. And that's basically what we've been doing. We've been eating reheated pot roast for like decades. And that's like reheated pot roast and like mashed potatoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we get some butter? Can we get some fresh foods? Can we get something new? That's what this is. And that's what's dope about this. So, Steve, brother, you might want to leave the chat. Steven, you might want to leave the chat, brother, because there are spoilers in this. No, there's no spoilers, but I am going to talk about some stuff that I think is these ideas are not really baked. They're not really baked ideas, but they're ideas that have popped into my head. And I had a conversation with my shop owner and his wife and another shop employee a little while ago. They kind of added to some of this stuff, and it's like swirling around in my head. And at the end of the day, I don't know if there are answers to be had right now, so much as there are some interesting things that I'm seeing. And so I want to kind of talk about that for just a moment. We scroll down. Somebody said something about Lobo. Thought I saw Lobo. Got all excited. You know how Agent Oink Oink is like pot roast. Oh my goodness. No, Proteus is still in the picture. Proteus is still in the picture. Proteus is still, I think, in life number 10. Because if you remember, there was something in there, I think maybe in the Krakoan language or the mutant language, I think it says like, or in one of the issues, it was like Moira X, which I think is actually Moira 10, which is her 10th life. But I believe in that 10th life, she still has the child that becomes Proteus. So I think Proteus is still in play, but that is actually something of what I'm actually going to get to. So you guys bear with me. I still haven't had a chance to play around with this thing in such a way that I can figure out how to bounce back and forth through things. But one thing that I do want to point out to you guys is that there is a number that is super curious, that is peeking out time and time again. And I don't know if people are fully paying attention to it. And I missed part of it yesterday. And someone said, someone was like, you're killing me, Smalls, because I missed an obvious thing. But here's the thing. How many issues of House of X are there? How many issues? Take a sip of coffee. I have to power up for this because I'm going in. There are six issues of House of X that will be made. there are 6 issues of Powers of 10, 2 number 6s, right? If you look at the thing that I missed yesterday, which was Moira's life, the 6th life was actually missing. So you have a couple of 6s there. And then it wasn't until I think I was actually in the middle of the live stream and actually had a realization while I was in the live stream. And I don't know whether I said it out loud, to be honest with you, because I can't really remember if I did or not. Let me see if I'm making sure I want to share this thing the right way. So I want to share. Yeah. I had this epiphany partly through the live stream, but certainly after the live stream. If you look at this, this is the cover. This is the cover of House of X #2. And if you look right in the very center of that kaleidoscope is 6 different versions of Moira, 6 different versions of Moira that are sitting right here in the middle of the screen. One of them is the Apocalypse version of Moira. When she went and hung out with Apocalypse, one of them is like the Black Widow version of her. One of them is the scientist version of her that attempted to cure mutant kind. There is the current version, which is the one at the bottom with her hat on it, closest to Charles. She's right there. And then I don't know what the other 2 are, just 2 of her other lives, but there are 6 versions of Moira right here on the cover. So you have 6 House of X issues, 6 Powers of 10 issues. You have the missing 6 Moira's life. And you also have, again, this 6 diagram on the front cover where we're seeing 6 different versions of her. So in my head, I don't feel like that's accidental. I feel like maybe there is something there. And if you look at the reading order, I believe Powers of 10 number 6 is highlighted in red, which leads me to believe, again, I've had this theory since the very first issue, that something significant is also going to happen in the 6th issue of Powers of 10 because it is highlighted in red. So there's definitely some curious stuff that is happening here. I want to stop sharing that and see if this, so this is, show you guys this screen right here. This is actually part of what I missed yesterday when we were talking originally about some of the other stuff. This slide right here, the many lies of Moira 10 or Moira X, right? And I think it is 10 because this is her 10th life. And I'll show you why the 10th life is the current life. But this is where, if you look right in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th one is missing. Where is the 6th life? That's like one of the big questions that people have. And again, I missed it yesterday. But is this the Proteus line? There is a Proteus line in here. Let me see if I can find it. Scrolling through. Where is the 6th? I thought there was a Proteus line here. This font is so small and I'm getting old. Where is it? I actually don't even see it. I could have swore that it was here. She founds the Institute. She wins the Nobel Prize. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So let me share with you this screen right here. Share with you the double D screen that I set up. So here is the 6th screen. If you look here down in this black line, well, let me do this. There are 2 lines right here down at the bottom of this thing that are super curious, right? And both of these kind of indicate that there is forward progression. If you look at the ones above, almost all of these lines where you have a line and then you have basically a termination point, that is basically the death of Moira. Moira basically dies in each one of her lives. And she kind of talks about that in the preceding pages. But then we also see it here play out on this wonderful timeline that Jonathan Hickman and team have kind of put together. She basically, dies, over and over again, and then she is reborn. And so there are 2 curious lines down the bottom that continue to extend. And one of them is year number 9 or life number 9, where the Apocalypse War actually begins. And this one continues off. And the question is that an alternative timeline? And if so, if that is an alternative timeline, then how did the 10th life start if a life only starts after a life has ended? And so that's a very curious thing that her life with Apocalypse kind of appears to continue on with no termination point, yet we have the 10th life. And again, to the point that I was making here, if you look at the 10th line, the black line at the very bottom, you can actually see that in year 31, Moira gives birth to Proteus. And so Proteus, who is an Omega level mutant, as we pointed out in one of my previous videos, is in this timeline. He is alive. And so if we kind of continue through this timeline, you guys have to apologize to me. I can't read the live stream at the same time because of me attempting to share my various screens with you guys. So you have my apologies for that, but I will get to read those in just a second. But if we pull up here, we're going to look at the double E. The double E, nope, that's not the one. That's not it. Oh, actually, maybe I didn't even pull it over. But if you looked at the reading order for this thing, what you would see is that dotted line for life number 10 actually continues in the reading order, which kind of leads me to believe that the 10th life is her current life, which we are seeing play out in House of X number 2. And so again, one of the big questions is what happens to this 9th life? Where does it all come from? And I don't know that I have the answer to it, but what I will show you is this screen right here. This is my F screen. Show you this F screen here. This very curious quote from Apocalypse. If you can find it in you to survive, if you are worthy, then I will make you into something more than them, something eternal, signed Apocalypse. And I think what's great about these interstitial pages is that they essentially are previewing potentially what is to come next, right? If you remember from House of X number 1, we saw it's not a dream, Charles, if it is real. We heard that in House of X 1. We saw it play out in House of X 2 in those, stacked panels where, Charles basically reads Moira's mind and is basically radicalized by having seen what came before in her various lives. My feeling is that there is something more here with this Apocalypse quote that we might see play out in House of X number 3. And it could be that somehow he has basically made Moira, who is a mutant who can reincarnate herself somehow into some kind of eternal. And what I mean by eternal is someone who has a longer lifespan and does not necessarily die, the same way Apocalypse does, right? Apocalypse does some crazy stuff and he is able to extend his life. Similarly, there may be something here that he has actually done to Moira that we may actually see play out in later issues. And if you go back earlier to the comic, you see that Apocalypse and Moira are basically fighting against man and machine. They are basically kind of sort of back to back, and they're battling it out, and they don't die. And that's where that timeline potentially is one that continues out into the future. Does it continue out into the future because Apocalypse did some crazy stuff? I don't know. Is there some crazy stuff that happens that allows her to start life number 10 without ending life number 9? I don't know. We may see it play out in future issues of the comic. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens here. So let me scroll through the thing here. I don't think any of us thought of Moira being a mutant, says Vox, brother, because no one was paying attention to Moira, right? Moira's cool, but no one was paying attention to Moira. Grant making a joke here. Because she is worthy, she can now wield the Thor hammer. She's also going to take over his name, because girls can take guys' names. There you go. Moira X is an eternal. There you go. I'm telling you, there is definitely something there. Moira could appear in X3 1,000 years into the future from her 9th life. I'm telling you, I really do think that something's there. And is it somehow connected to the 6th life? I don't know. These are all the curious things that kind of popped into my head over the last couple of days based upon the conversations that I've been having. The number 6 and then this doubled life that kind of continues out. I find it interesting. And at the end of the day, I don't know what the truth is. I just find it really fascinating. Connecting Comics, how you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. Eddie's mullet is in the house. Hashtag Gibbon Gang. If you have Amazing Spider-Man 110, put it up on Instagram, post up that hashtag Gibbon Gang, and make sure you tag me so I can give you a shout out. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Oh man, this is hilarious. Megan's like, hey, Reggie, I've decided to use molly-whopping as my word of the day. Here's the thing. I am all about having fun. I'm gonna just be honest with you, because here's the thing. This is comic books. It's comics, and it should be fun. And I am trying to have some fun. That is my thing, and I think you guys get it. Megan, who is new to the channel, she definitely gets it. But if you guys have missed my video, I'm telling you, go back and watch the video, because it's not every day. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not every day that you find a way to use the word mollywop over the course of a day. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, but I found a way to do it in the video. And Megan has found a way to use the word or the term mollywop at least twice today. And it's pretty darn early where she is. That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Jablu is on to something here. The embryonic scenes are very creepy. Could you imagine being in the womb, having awareness of self? I mean, I think she said at some point, it's enough to potentially drive you mad, but she found it somehow strangely comforting knowing that she was inside of her mom and that her mom was safe and all that kind of stuff, which I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some crazy stuff that is happening within this comic. I think, again, it's super exciting. The level of creativity that Jonathan Hickman is demonstrating here, right? Because it is super easy to just, and I'm making this up, right? To just write a story, right? To just write a story that is a beautiful story, but you write it in isolation, in a vacuum, where it has no relation to anything that came before it and nothing that comes after it. It is just a beautiful, self-contained story. That's easy, right? What this dude is doing is he is basically taking how many ever years of X-Men history, and he is basically tying them all together, and he is telling a fantastic story. It is a fantastic story where he is filling in the gaps of like what happens. This panel right here, hopefully you guys will be able to see that. This panel right here, where he is showing the various iterations of the X-Men. Oh my God, that is powerful. That is a powerful scene, because this dude is basically saying, I am not ignoring all of this history. He is like, I am a fan of this history. I am leveraging this stuff. I am keeping all this great stuff that you've ever wanted, but I'm gonna tell you a new story. And it's really, really well done. Seeds of Apocalypse. The Secret Life of Moira X, or The Secret Life of Moira 10 is basically where we're headed. Matt, how you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Busta. Hey, my man, glad I can make it to the live stream. Well, thank you, brother. I'm glad that you made it here. It is always good to have you and all you guys just hanging out. Nick, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. We are over here just making some stuff up. I'm just keeping it 100% honest. We are just making some stuff up. Eddie's mullet. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if Moira is an Eternal and thus the future MCU connection to introduce mutants. I would go with that if the word Eternal was capitalized. Right? Because Eternals, if you will, is a proper term, proper noun to refer to those who are eternal. That's how I would read it. But the fact that it's a lowercase e without the S leads me to believe that it is more of a life extending thing versus she is an eternal. But I could see how you could go there. I can see why you would go there. So, and again, we are just spitballing, Eddie. I mean, you know this, brother. You could probably be right. I could be completely wrong. We are just spitballing. We are speculating. We are making stuff up, having a little fun as we do so. And I think that's what's really cool about this is that the level of excitement and engagement that people have around X-Men right now is really exciting to see. It is really fun to see people actually be excited about something and not have it be about money. You know what I'm saying? This is just excitement because it's a good freaking story with some good artwork. Billy, how you doing? He said the Gibbon is an Omega level. Oh my goodness, Billy, you sir are a nut. You sir are a nut. Maybe Apocalypse brought Moira back to life. If that were the case, there would still be a termination point. Then it would extend after that. Good theory. Good theory. But in my head, because each one has a termination point, and even when she faked her death, there was a marker that basically said Moira faked her death, but then she continued on. Then she died. So I feel like if she had died and had been resurrected by Apocalypse and not through her reincarnation, I feel like there would be a notation or a termination point with an extension that follows it. But again, I'm just spitballing. I'm just spitballing with all this stuff. So what is this? Hickman states that panel with Apocalypse and Moira. I must have missed that. Not in Eternal, but not an external. Yeah. I got you. I got you on that one. Eddie's mullet talking about giving gang. Scrolling down through the comments here. Let's see what I missed. Scrolling down through the comments. So here, if I'm correct, Thanos is a mutant eternal. So it is possible that Moira could be transformed into something similar by Apocalypse. So Thanos is he is a mutant. He was a deviant that mutated. Or was he an eternal? I can't remember. That Apocalypse thing is so, I mean, not Apocalypse, but the Thanos thing. Could that be possible? Could Apocalypse, I don't know if Apocalypse can make someone into an eternal versus finding a way to extend their life the same way that he extends his life. You know what I'm saying? I would have to think more about that one. I need to think more about that one. Because I can't argue that one on the fly. I would need to think a little bit more about that, which I think is a good thing. I think that is a good thing. So Megan is saying that's why I love Hickman as a writer, because just look at the thoughts. His book is provoking in the discussions. It's well done. Well said, well done. Could not agree more. I think that that's really a sign of really great writing. And it's a sign, in my opinion, that this dude is a fan. It is a sign that he is a fan of comics, you know, and this is what I really like, is that not only are people engaged, but people are just having fun. You know what I'm saying? People are just having fun, and it's not about what's the hot spec and that kind of stuff. It's just like, look, here's a really great story that I just enjoy reading. Somebody said to me the other day, I can't remember the last time I read a comic book in the parking lot of my LCS. Really? That is a certain level of excitement that you don't hear about. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest with you. I got my copy and I raced home and I sat on the sofa and read the daggone thing. And then I went live because I was so excited about it. This to me is a really, really wonderful thing. Scrolling through. Mako raising a good point here. He says, I love the shade on Avengers versus X-Men, The Lost Decade. There was a little shade that was thrown on that one. No doubt. There was some shade. Here we go. I really want to see a comic that goes in depth in the Magneto Moira life. If you see the timeline, it says Magneto conquers America. Yeah, I think, and this is the point that I was making yesterday, is that there is a lot here that could be blown out into something bigger. Like, you can show the whole Apocalypse Moira team up where he basically takes over, you know, that whole war. That's a whole thing I would like to see play out. The whole Magneto thing, I would love to see that play out, because we technically, I don't think, have seen those two things. We have seen Charles Xavier's time with Moira, but I don't know that we've seen the Magneto time or the Apocalypse time. So it would be cool. I think that it's some texture there that could be broken out and some time spent on that could be very interesting to watch. I mean, because she, at one point, if you look at the sketches, even if you look at the cover, Moira almost is basically wearing Apocalypse's armor. She has an A on her belt. You know what I'm saying? So did she get married to this dude? Like, did he give her some amped up powers to the point that someone else was making here before? Like, there is something there. There is a story to be told there. You can see he planned the heck out of this with a lot of detail for a long time, and it's paying off big time. A great read, ready for more. Well said, brother. I don't know that I can argue with a single word of that. I feel like this dude is a real fan, and this dude sat down and he probably sat down at a big board and just started mapping stuff out. I'm going to tie this back to that. I'm going to say this, and that's going to lead to this. And he just went back and forth with all these strings that all just tie everything together just beautifully. It's like, I if you can't get excited about this, I don't know what you get excited about, to be honest with you. I had the guy at the comic shop. He's like, I don't even care about the X-Men, but this was a good read. It's just, I love that. I love that. I think it's a great onboarding for people that have never really been into the X-Men, or people that are like, hey, I want to get into the X-Men. Where do I start? You start right here with House of X. That's where you start. Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Looking to buy an AF-15 so I can trade for high grade. Oh my goodness. I didn't see that comment. I showed that on screen before I read it. Billy Parker. Thank you, brother. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Think about information, taking all our future lives. Feel like Moira has an agenda to save both mutants and humans. She could, but she's technically maybe, because here's the thing. I would almost agree with that. If she was not the one that basically like activated Charles Xavier and Magneto and Apocalypse. She basically went to them and was like, hey, here's what I've done, here's what's coming, you need to step your game up. And almost every single one of these guys basically started a war. So I don't know if her interest is saving humanity anymore. And I think in that one life, she was interested in curing mutants because she viewed it as an illness, mutation that is, as an illness. But I don't know if she's really interested in saving humanity. And when I was talking to one of the guys earlier today, he actually said that I can't remember which book it was, but he was saying that maybe this sixth theory would lead to something demonic. I absolutely hope that that is not the case. Justin, how you doing, my friend? He says he loves the show. Thank you, brother. I don't know that I've seen you before, but welcome. If I've seen you before, then you have my apologies, but thank you either way for the very kind words. Kyler's in the house. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Nick is like specking on these books hard. I have many of the covers. Well done, sir. Well done. I like that there's a missing timeline in the back. Yes, that we've been talking about that there may be something there. To Comic Misexplained comment here, there may be something there with the number 6. And my theory that I shared at the beginning of this video is that the number 6 comes up a lot. There are 6 issues of House of X. There are 6 issues of Powers of 10. There is the missing life of Moira X. And if you go to the cover of House of X 2, there are 6 different Moiras on the cover. Even though she's led 10 lives, they are only showing 6. So there is something potentially that is going to happen with the number 6 that we could potentially see play out in Powers of 10 number 6. Because if you go to the reading order, that comic, that line is actually highlighted in red. And I believe that those issues that are highlighted in red will have some significance. And I think it was like House of X2, which is what we're reading right now, Powers of 10-6, and there's one other that I can't remember. But then if you also look at the Omega level mutants, one of the mutants is also highlighted in red, and it's Franklin Richards, who is one of the more powerful Omega level mutants out there with reality warping powers. I think that there is something there. I think that there is something coming. What happens? Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows? So yeah, we may actually talk about Proteus is there. Proteus is dope. Proteus is crazy, man. That dude is crazy. Comic Books NYC, how you doing, brother? He said, just read it. Love the timing, brother. So if you get a chance, check out the video I did yesterday, because I talk about some things there as well related to House of X. I'm just so excited about this one. That it's just really awesome. So Caesar is helping me out here with my stumbling earlier. So he is an Eternal and he has a mutation. No, I thought he was a deviant though. No, he is an Eternal, because his brother is Eros and his brother is Death. So Thanos is basically human, but he is an Eternal. He is an Eternal that had some a mutation of the deviant gene. That's why he has the crunchy chin. Thank you. And so that's how I think that they are ultimately going to connect Thanos to the Eternals and Celestials, that whole path that I just talked about. And I think that that's, again, how they're going to introduce mutants. When mutants are introduced, it will happen in the Eternals movie. I think that that's how that's going to go. So, well said. Nick is like, she could be anything. She could be anything because of Mr. Sinister. So I want to show you guys a couple of books, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about Absolute Carnage. So one of the books that I want to show you is this book right here. And again, these books have been sitting on my desk for like 2 weeks now. This is X-Men 141. I actually bought this book in a Starbucks from a guy. I bought the 2 issues of this storyline from a guy in a Starbucks. And what's cool about this book is that this is actually the first appearance of Rachel as the second Phoenix. It is, they say, the first appearance of Pyro and Avalanche, Destiny, right? Destiny, who we saw really bad in this last issue. But this is a really, really cool book. Really cool book. Again, very pleased to have this one in the collection. I've had it probably for well over a year now. This next one is another awesome book. One of the first slabs that I actually picked up when I was still trying to decide whether I wanted to do CBCS or CGS. I'm sorry, CBCS or CGC. Iron Fist number 14. And what makes this one really cool and why it's in an X-Men video is because this is the first appearance of Sabretooth, who plays a role in House of X. And so don't know whether he'll be back or whether he's in jail. But again, another really cool book that I picked up, I think almost 2 years ago now. The next book is X-Men 129. This is a 7.5. This is actually the first appearance of Kitty Pryde in the White Queen, and also Sebastian Shaw, which is really cool because, again, I believe that Sebastian Shaw and some of these other characters will have some important roles to play as we move forward into what is happening with the X-Men. And then this last one here, this last one is kind of cool. I picked this one up. I had 2 raw copies of it. I gave one away in a mystery box. I kept one, and then I bought this one. This is Uncanny X-Men 221. This is actually the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. So this is definitely a cool book. Glad to have been able to pick this one up. And I picked this one up because I anticipated everything happening with the X-Men, and I went out and got this one. Definitely pleased to have this awesome book in the collection. And again, Sinister line. Sinister does some crazy stuff, playing around with some genes and some other stuff, man. It's definitely an awesome book. What did you say there? He said, it used to be the most expensive Iron Fist book. Yeah, you might be right about that. I have no clue what you got. Oh, somebody must have said something about me drinking coffee. My wife suggested that I do an early morning show, and I was like, I can't, babe, because Bueller does his thing with coffee, and I would definitely. You try not to step on other people's toes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's like the right thing to do, at least I think. Absolute Carnage was good, but read House of X 2 first, and it just didn't compare. Now here, Caesar's raising a really good point, because I'm going to be honest with you. I did the same thing. I read House of X, and I was like, and then I read Absolute Carnage, and I was like, I did a Thor. I did what the guys doing when they talk about Thor. It was pretty good. So Absolute Carnage was it was pretty good. It was pretty good, but it did not compare to House of X. And I don't think it even compares to the early couple of issues of Venom. I think that Donny Cates did the thing with Venom. And Venom, I think, was really good, is really good. This wasn't that for me, where I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing I ever read. It wasn't like Immortal Hulk. It wasn't like the early Venom. It wasn't like House of X, but it was still good, right? It was still good. And I think that it was well done. Carnage becomes a god, and it's actually really cool. I mean, I like what Donny Cates is doing here with the codex or the codicy. I don't know how you pronounce it, the plural form. They had a whole debate about that in the book. But in many ways, this book kind of picks up with like Eddie doing his thing with his son Dylan, and they are running through the streets of New York trying to find some kind of safety, knowing that Carnage is on the loose, and Eddie is on the run because they think that he hurt some people, blah 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 blah. And it picks up kind of sort of where the Venom book was going, and ultimately, Eddie and Dylan to some degree or another are saved by the symbiote, the Venom symbiote, who has been restored, has his mental faculties restored by playing around with some black magic. And I think that happened in War of the Realms. And so the Venom is basically back, and they're bonded back together. And then they basically square off against Carnage. And here we go. Carnage basically gets mollywopped. I'm not Carnage. Venom basically gets mollywopped by Carnage, and Carnage is like, bro, I am a god. I am here. I'm adding to my power. I was beating you before, and I'm really going to beat you bad now. And the symbiote is like, Eddie, we need to get out of here because I don't think we can beat this dude. And it was a good book. I enjoyed it, just not in comparison to House of X. But I ended up picking up this copy of the book. I have another couple of copies, I think, coming. One from IG Comic Store, one from that Canadian comic shop up in Canada. And then I also picked up this one right here. This is the Absolute Carnage #1. This is actually the party sketch variant. There was actually only one of these per store, so I'm not even sure whether you guys have actually seen this thing. There is only one of these per store, and I was able to, let me cover up the price there. We don't need to see the price. Well, it's too late now. But I actually picked this one up from my local comic shop. It was a little bit more than what I wanted to spend, to be honest with you, but I have a very good relationship with this comic shop. And sometimes you have to support your people. You know what I'm saying? He made the book available to me for my consideration, and I ended up buying it because I wanted it, but also because it helps my comic shop. And so it was a lot more than I wanted to spend, but it is what it is, you know? So Lost Comic Junkie, I just finished reading Absolute Carnage, wicked good stuff, and about to read House of X next. Here you go. I'm going to tell you, you're doing it in the right order, my friend. That is the right order, because if you had read it in reverse, you'd be right there where I am. And same thing with Caesar. So I think you're doing it the right thing. But to your point, his Lost Comic Junkie's last point in here, he says, what a new comic book day. That is legit. That is legit. The comic shop, when I was there yesterday, was full of people. It was full of people because people are excited about Carnage. People are excited about the X-Men, and it's awesome. It is awesome to see it all unfold, man. So again, I mean, think about it. How many books out there could we sit here right now and debate that are really good? We could sit here and we could have a debate, not just about Marvel, but also about DC and probably about some independents as well. We could sit here and have a fantastic debate. We are getting what we deserve, which is really good art, really good stories for kind of sort of a fair price, right? I think it's a great thing. And I think as much as we like bash the comic book industry, they need to do this, they need to do that. They're doing something right now. And I think it's important that we take a moment to kind of acknowledge some of that. I didn't press anything yet. I haven't pressed any of these books right now. Fingers crossed, though. Fingers crossed that we have some 9.8s. Reggie, do you possibly think we would get a new X-Men team similar to Giant Size X-Men introducing a new team? So if you look at one of the videos that I did, it was six new comics or something like that, 6 new X-Men comics. In that video, I basically highlight the structure of the 6 new teams that have been constituted. So in the month of October, there are going to be 6 new titles that are going to be coming out, all X related. Each one of those titles is a new team. It's a new constituted team of characters across the X-Men franchises. And I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but there's an X-Men team, there's an X-Force team, there's a New Mutants, there's Excalibur, there's the Marauders, and the Fallen Angels. I just did it. There were 6 new titles that are all X related, and each one of them has representation from the various universe that is X, some good guys and some bad guys. So if you haven't seen that video, I definitely encourage you to go check that one out, because I basically list every single team and every single individual on those teams. Now, what I will say is that I am hearing that there are 3 waves of titles that are coming. We will see wave 1 in October, and it's the 6 titles and teams that I just mentioned. 2 other waves are coming with additional titles down the road, because people are like, well, what about this character? What about that character? Well, depending upon how this thing goes, you could see some of those characters and some of those other teams in waves 2 and 3. So that is what I heard. We will see whether it is true and whether it actually plays out. So scrolling down through the I love coffee, my friend. I do indeed. So yeah, I've done a couple of deals in Starbucks and other coffee houses. Here we go. this is an excellent point. Wolf, sorry, you have my apologies. Wolf is like, both books were bangers. No need to compare the two. They both have their own fans. Well said. And in my case, I think there's a little bit of overlap. I honestly am not a Carnage fan, but I am a Donny Cates fan. And I do like what Donny Cates did here. He is introducing some new stuff with Noel and with Carnage coming back, being basically a god, and seeing Spider-Man and Venom team up again. You've got the introduction of Dylan, who is Eddie's son. There is some texture there that I appreciate. I always thought that both Venom and Carnage were simple, right? Basically killers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what they were. Eddie evolved first into like being an anti-hero. He evolved a tremendous amount in his own series right now, where he has a lot more texture and depth which I really like. But Carnage has always just been a mindless killer to me. He's still a killer, but there's some extra texture that is being added right now by Donny Cates that I appreciate. So I think your point here, Wolf, is that these two books should not be compared. That is an excellent and valid point. But what I will say is I may be able to actually get on board with this. I was asked by people whether I was excited about Absolute Carnage. And I was like, I'll pick it up. I'll read it. It's actually good. It's actually good. And I will probably add it to my pull list and see where Donny goes with this, because I think he is another really, really talented artist. I'm sorry, creator. My apologies. Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Yep, there we go. Jablu is right onto there. What does that say? I loved Absolute Venom. My purse is I'm not buying the tie-ins. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. I am not buying the tie-ins. I will buy the main story. Yeah, I'm just not gonna do it, because I mean, this stuff's expensive, man. Let's keep it honest. Let's keep it honest. Yeah, here we go. Eddie's mullet is saying some stuff here. He's like, House of X and Powers of 10 and Absolute Carnage are doing two completely different things. House of X, Powers of 10 is setting the table, and AC is destroying it. Yeah, I would agree. I cannot deny that. And I apologize, because I was comparing it to, but more from the sake of, no, can't even compare them. The legitimate points from both of you guys. So no. Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Normie's got a little bit of a beast inside of him, so we're gonna stick with Normie. If you guys remember from the whole Red Goblin thing that happened last year, if you remember at the end of that, where Normie was getting hugged, there was a little bit of a red fleck in his eye. And I think what we're kind of seeing now is that whole codex thing kind of play out, that there is still something inside of him, that being a little bit of the residual symbiote in him. And I thought that I think that was really well done. I don't know if you guys remember that panel, but there was a panel at the end of the book where after, it was all extracted, there was still a little bit in him. And it's just really, really good writing. It was a visual representation of a hook that a writer leaves out there. And it's that little thread, that little hook is being tied to, and I think it's really well done. Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Here we go. So I'm pretty sure Apocalypse altered Moira's powers and made her able to live multiple timelines at once. That's why timetables 9 and 10 are continuous. We will see. That is part of the theory that I actually talked about earlier in the video. We will see. We will see. And if you remember the quote from the front, the first interstitial page, I think, in House of 10, it says House of X, it says something like, if you can survive, I will like elevate you, or something like that. There's something to that extent, right? I will make you more than them, or something. Apocalypse plays a role. Apocalypse has done something, at least I think. The question becomes, what and how will it present itself? Scrolling down through some of the comments here. Scrolling down. Scrolling down. Oh, here we go. What are your thoughts on the Destiny versus Pyro scene? I thought it was dope. I really do. And again, Destiny makes her first appearance in X-Men 141. I think it was a really dope scene right there where she basically like lays down the law and then is basically like executor. It was a great scene. It really was. Scrolling down through some of the comments, Reggie, do you watch? I have no clue what that is. MST3K. I have no clue what that is. If that, I'm guessing it's a YouTube channel. I'm going to say no, that I don't, but message me or something like that and give me a little bit of context for like why I should do it, because I'm definitely always interested in seeing what's out there. And one of the things I struggle with sometimes is I try not to watch a lot of other YouTubers, because if I watch too much of it, we all end up sounding the same and I end up repeating something someone else said unintentionally, versus having my own thoughts about these stuff and sharing it with you guys and giving you, a different perspectives, right, that are genuine to the individual. So I don't watch a whole lot of other people, but I'm definitely interested. If there's someone out there doing some really killer stuff, hit me up. Let me know what's up. Like I listen to Comics Explain every day. Just Comics Explain makes everything sound good, and I absolutely love it all. So scrolling down through some of the comments here, making sure I don't miss anything. So here's a comment here from Caesar. I think the MCU will get to individual mutants before an X-Men movie. They could, because that is the formula through which the Avengers were introduced. But if you think about it, the Avengers to some degree are a collection of individuals that have come together for a purpose, right? That's basically what the Avengers are. They are a collection of individuals that have come together for a shared purpose, but they still have their own individual things that they do. Tony goes off and does his thing. Cap does his own thing. They all do their own individual things, but Avengers assemble, right? The X-Men are not that. The X-Men are a family, right? The X-Men are a family. It would be tough to tell, if you will, the story of Storm without showing the context, you know what I'm saying, of other X-Men. Like, okay, she's at her house, but where's her house? Oh, she lives in a mansion. Why does she live in a mansion? You know what I'm saying? I think it might be a little different. That formula also worked for the Avengers because of how the Avengers are structured, but also because so much of the MCU was unproven in those early days. You know what I'm saying? You start with Iron Man, and it's like, if it works, cool. Then we go to something else and we build upon it. We build upon it. We build upon it. We build up to this other thing. Whereas now it's proven. If the MCU does a movie, bro, it doesn't matter how you do it. People are going to show up, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? So I don't know that you have to take that same formula and apply it to every other team that's out there. I think that you have to look at that team and ask yourself, how is this team best represented? Like, you can do a Logan movie because Logan is a loner. Logan goes out and does his thing. Scott doesn't do that. Scott gets on his Harley and goes for a ride, but he doesn't, or goes for a drive in his car. He doesn't necessarily go on adventures by himself. Jean Grey doesn't necessarily go on adventures by herself. You could do a Cable movie because Cable does his own thing, but most of the X-Men it's a team. It's a family. They all live together. They are together because they are hated by humankind, and that forces them together. I mean, Nightcrawler is hidden. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we have to look at the situation and think through it a little bit differently than the formulaic approach that they actually did. So scrolling down through some of the comments here, scrolling down. Ariel, how you doing, my friend? It is good to see you. I love how deep X and Carnage are digging for material all the way back to the beginning. And well said, brother. Well said. It is not a warmed over principle. That's what we've been talking about. This is a lot of really, really new, great, exciting content. And I'm definitely enjoying this stuff. All right. So anyway, there was a lot of other comments here. I want to keep this thing moving. I want to get myself. Oh, Florence is here. How you doing, Florence? It is good to see you. Abel is here. So, hey, Reggie, what X-Men comics are you planning to pick up after House of X? So what I would say is, if you're just talking about that, I'm getting every single House of X and Powers of 10. Every single one of those will be picked up. And then so much of the other X-Men related books I have already purchased. Like, I anticipated the House of X Powers of 10 actually being big. And so I actually went out and bought a lot of that stuff before already. Like, I went out and got this book right here. I had two raw copies of it, but I picked up the 9.8 of Mr. Sinister's first appearance. I picked up, and I think I showed this already. I released a video. I think I picked up I think it was like 50 books, 40 books, X-Men related books. Really good stuff, like 200 kind of X-Men, 212, a lot of that Sabretooth, Wolverine battle stuff, because I think we're going to see that play out. So I've actually picked up a lot of that stuff. And then once I get done with my Amazing Spider-Man run, I'm actually going to turn my attention to picking up some additional low number X-Men stuff, possibly sub 100. And then I should be picking up a lot of the John Byrne stuff kind of that's running. So more to come on that one. But right now it's really just House of 10. I'm sorry. Yeah. House of 10 and Powers of X. Powers of 10, House of X. Scrolling down through the comments here. All right. So here we go. So Megan's here. Without Hickman, we wouldn't be talking about the character Moira. I mean, with little care and great writing, she is potentially limitless as a character with the stroke of well said. I mean, I cannot deny anything that was just said there. I really can't. I mean, no one cared about Moira. No one cared about what's her first appearance. Like, no one, like, I missed that one. And I probably shouldn't have, because of that kiss that she had with Apocalypse. I should have went out and got the first appearance of Moira McTaggart. But does anybody know what her first appearance is? Like, off the top of your head? No, I don't. I don't think anybody actually knows, versus the first appearance of like Apocalypse, right? X Factor 6 and then cameo in X Factor 5. Like, you can rattle off the first appearances of these major characters, but no one was thinking about her. I went out and got the first appearance of Proteus. No one was thinking about Mama Moira, because she was a background appearance. I think I want that book like nobody's business. The first appearance of Juggernaut, want it like nobody's business. It is such a nice book. But I haven't gotten it. Yeah, here you go. even a dud makes 100 million in profits, right? Crazy, right? Here's a comment here from Biggie Shack. I think X-Men fans are quick to jump on any bandwagon that comes around. Which bandwagon are you referring to, my friend? Because here's the thing, the X-Men fans, let's be honest, are fans of a team that has been on the back burner for a couple of decades, right? So maybe what it is that X-Men fans are excited that something exciting is actually happening with their team since like the 90s, right? Because that was the last time I was excited about the X-Men. And it really wasn't because of the stories per se, so much as the great artwork. You know what I'm saying? But I'm actually staring at some great X-Men stuff from the 90s right in front of me that I used to read back as a kid, back in 91 and 92. Bishop's first appearance is literally right in my face. I haven't been this excited for X-Men since the 90s. And I think my level of excitement here is motivated not just about the pretty pictures, but also about the fantastic story that has been told. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe we put it in a little bit of context to explain why people are excited about this thing. You know? Here we go. Eddie is on to somebody said, I can't wait to see how Franklin Richards plays into this X-Men mythos. Bro, there is something there where he said, say hello to your son for me, or something like that. I think Cyclops said that. There is something that's going to happen. There is something that is going to happen with this Franklin Richards stuff that is going to blow people's mind. Shaq is like, can I get that X-Men 12? I'm telling you, that's a dope book. Dope books. Here you go. 96. Who has it? Kimball. Anyone have X-Men 96? Does anyone have it? Actually, I need to check my bins. I might. I need to check my bins, because I just might have 91, to be honest with you. There was a couple of good things happening around like 98-ish. Of course, 94, there was definitely some good stuff that was happening around there. So I'm gonna have to check out 96. I may have that in the bin back there. All right, guys, I'm going to get myself out of here. I absolutely want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit as I sat here and kind of pontificated this number 6 with 6 issues of House of X, 6 issues of Powers of 10, the missing sixth life of Moira and the fact that she appears 6 times on the cover of House of X #2. There is something there with her, with Apocalypse, with this missing timeline, with the 2 timelines that are continuing into the future. There is more to come with this whole Moira thing. And I honestly cannot wait to see how this thing unfolds. And I have a feeling that you guys are right there with me. So just as a quick reminder, I'm still going to be releasing a video in just about an hour because I always release videos Monday through Friday, always at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully you guys will not miss that. But again, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me just a little bit. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so. RegieCollects on Instagram and RegieCollects@gmail.com. Take care.